Section 5.4, solving equations with rational expressions. What we want to do for this section is we want to state the restrictions, and then we'd like to solve the equation. The equations in this section contain rational expressions, which are fractions. When we are solving equations where we have a variable in the denominator, we have to state the restrictions for the variable x. Remember that we cannot divide by 0. And so what we want to do is take both the denominators and set them to not equal to 0, like I have here. And then we solve each of these for x, and we get that x should not be 3, x should not be 4. These two values will make the denominator 0, and we do not want to divide by 0 because that will be undefined. So the restrictions for this problem are 3 and 4. The second step is to find your least common denominator, and in this case, we just find the product of these two denominators, and so our LCD is x minus 3 times x minus 4. We are going to multiply both sides of this equation by the LCD to eliminate fractions. Make sure you understand that you have to multiply by the same quantity on both sides of the equation. Has to be the same exact. And so when you multiply, we're multiplying the LCD to the numerator for both of the fractions. Notice that you could reduce x minus 3, and for the second part, we can reduce x minus 4. And so this is what we have left. After we eliminate the fractions, we just solve as usual, distribute, and then of course we just solve for x. Subtract 6x, and we can also add 28 to both sides. X is equal to 10. When you get your final answer, you need to go back and make sure that the answer you have is not the restricted values. If it is, then we don't use that solution. So sometimes when you solve, you might get a solution that is a restricted value. You can't have that, and so you would say no solution. But in this case, 10 is not 3 or 4, so this solution works. Let's look at the second example. So we have another equation containing rational expressions, and we want to follow the same steps. We want to state the restrictions. Since we have two denominators, we're going to set each of these to not equal to 0. And if you do that, you're going to get that x cannot be negative 3. And we also get that x cannot be negative 2. These are the restrictions for this problem. And to get the LCD, again, it's just going to be the product of these two, x plus 3 times x plus 2. We now need to multiply every single part of the equation by the LCD to eliminate fractions. And when we multiply, remember that you can reduce. X plus 3 reduces, and we are actually just left with x times x plus 2 plus x plus 2 reduces, so we're left with x plus 3 equals 1 times our LCD, so we just get the same thing. So we have an equation without fractions. We need to distribute and also FOIL on the right side. Combine like terms. Notice that if we subtract x squared from both sides, that term goes away, and we would just be left with 3x plus 3 is equal to 5x plus 6. And then we need to solve for x. I'm going to subtract 5x and also subtract 3. Combine like terms. Divide by -2. And we get that x is -3 over 2. This value is not a restricted value, so then it's okay for us and we can box it. Third example. This example is a little bit different because we have something that can be factored. This trinomial needs to be factored before we state the restrictions. Factor first. Now we need to state the restriction, so let's look at this carefully. There's basically two factors. We have x minus 2 and 3x plus 2. We need to set those not equal to 0. We'll do that on the side here. You need to solve for x, subtract 2, divide by 3. That is one restriction. The second restriction for x minus 2, I know that x cannot be 2. So these are the two restrictions. Our LCD is going to be exactly what we have here. 3x plus 2 times x minus 2. We need to multiply all three parts by the LCD so that we can eliminate fractions. So let's see what this is going to look like. Remember, when you multiply, you will be reducing. for the first part, 3x plus 2 reduces, and we are left with the following. Plus. The second fraction, we could reduce basically both of these factors, and we're left with 8x plus 16. The last part, x minus 2 reduces. We are left with x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. We actually need to FOIL these two, combine like terms, and then solve. So let's start by FOILing. I noticed that if I subtract 3x squared from both sides, that's going to give me 0. So we can just subtract here, both sides. We could do that, and we can also combine our like terms at the same time. So if you were to combine like terms, we would get 7x plus 6 is equal to 8x plus 4. So I just subtracted 3x squared and also combined like terms at the same time. And then, of course, solve for x. Divide by -1. X comes out to be 2. So make sure you check your answer at the end, because I noticed that 2 is a restricted value. 2 makes the denominator 0. We do not want to divide by 0. This is not possible. Your answer in this case is no solution.